the notion that now Kevin McCarthy is going to make himself the leader of the pro-Putin wing of my party is just a stunning thing. It's dangerous. He knows better. But the fact that he's willing to go down the path of suggesting that America will no longer stand for freedom, I think tells you he's willing to sacrifice everything for his own political gain.
What a sad, sad woman. She will not be missed. Notice that Cheney doesn't mention anything about the fact that several wealthy nations very close to Ukraine are providing basically no help at all in this war. Nations like Germany, France, Italy, look at how much they're providing in the fight for Ukraine. And they're right next to it, I mean, compared to where we are. She just says any Republican not willing to promise an open checkbook is now a supporter of Vladimir Putin. That's her line. She said it with a straight face. Cheney is working hard to make sure Democrats keep power. After everything that she has seen, she is one of them. Think about what it takes to join the Democrat Party right now, after what you've seen for the last 2 years. Think about that and you realize exactly who Liz Cheney really is. These are the people who have absolutely no interest in what you want or what you need. And they think that controlling the media and major corporations can insulate themselves from a major repudiation from their voters. That's what they really believe. They think they have enough to control the narrative, that they can systematically dismantle this country and pay no price for it. And in 2 weeks, they need to discover just how wrong they are. All right, joining us now is Texas Senator Ted Cruz, author of Justice Corrupted: How the Left Weaponized Our Legal System. And Senator, thank you so much for joining us here on the set. Good to see you.
Rob, great to be with you.
We've got 2 weeks until the election. The rhetoric from Democrats, in my opinion, has been almost laughable at this point. Yeah. Here's the president just today.
We, the Democrats, are the ones that are fiscally responsible. Let's get that straight now, okay?
One of many things. I mean, the Democrats are now the fiscally responsible party. Even without a pandemic, they're still spending far more than this country brings in, and he claims that he's a deficit reducer. Just go off.
It is the very definition of gaslighting. They're simply lying. But you can understand. All right, let's take facts. All right, the past year, the federal government brought in over $4 trillion in tax revenue. It's actually the most money the federal government has ever taken in the history of our country. Yep. That sounds pretty good. We ought to be living responsibly. We ought to be living within our means. Last year, the Democrats spent nearly $7 trillion. And the result of this, I'm reminded of the famed economist Milton Friedman, the Nobel laureate, who said in the United States there is one cause and only one cause of inflation: when the federal government spends too much money. And the out-of-control inflation is driven by the Democrats' crazy spending. The skyrocketing gas prices is driven by Joe Biden's war on American oil and gas. The out-of-control crime is driven by the Democrats trying to abolish and defund the police and putting George Soros soft-on-crime DAs in office to let criminals go. And the chaos at our southern border is driven by Joe Biden and the Democrats' refusal to enforce the law. And that's why I think November is going to be a huge election. Republicans are going to retake, I think, both the House and Senate.
I hope so. They're systematically, breaking down the country in every possible way that they can, and that's what's so reprehensible about it. For Republicans, and I do want to talk about that for a second. Republicans, I think that the House feels pretty secure. The Senate is what everyone is still questioning. What is your prediction? If you can you give us a number prediction, what you think it's going to be?
So I can. I think we're going to take both. I think we're going to take the House with a big majority. I think it could be 30, 40, 50 seats. I think it'll be a historic majority. The Senate, I think we could be anywhere between 51 and 57. If you made me pick right now, I'd probably pick about 53, 54.
53, 54.
And I am in the middle of a 17-state national bus tour. And so campaigning with candidates for the House, candidates for the Senate. I just spent a couple of days. A couple of days ago was all day long with J.D. Vance in Ohio. So the bus tour, we started in Texas, went Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, Utah, Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, Ohio. Tonight we'll be in Virginia, then North Carolina, then Tennessee, then Georgia, then Florida, then back to Michigan, then back to Utah, and we end in the great state of Texas. Everywhere we're going, We're seeing packed houses. People are energized. They are so eager to stop the lunacy. I'm really encouraged.
Yeah, I imagine it too, because I don't think what their narrative is, I don't think anybody cares. I think it's kitchen table stuff, and Republicans have that in this election, hands down. You went on The View today, just a few hours ago. I watched the whole thing. I thought it was fantastic. You were interrupted twice by protesters in the audience, which of course is filmed in New York. It's not a big surprise. The first time, was whatever, Whoopi told him to shut up. The second time was much more intense, I understand. Let's go ahead and show what it looked like for both.
Inflation has one cause and one cause only.
We do cover climate here, guys. We do cover climate. Ladies, excuse us. Let us do our job. Let us do our job.
People at home are saying, okay, is my life better today than it was 2 years ago? And I think for the vast majority of Americans, the answer is no.
So there at the end, it just went silent. I remember looking up at the TV and being like, what happened there? And there's no noise whatsoever. And then they immediately went to commercial break. I can only imagine what they said. It sure speaks to how the state of politics in this country and the fact that we're not allowed to talk. They're allowed to talk. They don't want you to say anything.
Look, there were angry protesters screaming, hurling epithets, the F-bomb. And it is indicative of just how angry we are, how emotional we are. And listen, the reason I went on The View is I think conservatives spend too much time preaching to the choir. We need to speak to a much broader range of people. And if you're a regular viewer of The View, you see one side of the political aisle. So, for example, Whoopi was going back and forth about January 6th, and they're obsessed with January 6th. And she says, well, our side isn't violent, only your side is violent.
You know what? I have that. That was my favorite part of the entire interview. Let's watch this. This was the best part.
We may not like when Republicans win, but we don't go and we don't storm. We don't try to change what. We'll go
Did I miss an entire year of Antifa riots where cities across this country were burning and police cars were being firebombed?
I guess you did.
Your position is the left doesn't engage in violence? Really?
And they all pretend like it had nothing. Kamala Harris was promoting those riots, was bailing those people out of jail. It's not like they can walk away from this now and go, we had nothing to do with that. Give me a break. They were all supporting that.
Look, that's exactly right. My new book, Justice Corrupted, that comes out tomorrow, it goes into this in depth, and it talks about the Democrat efforts to abolish the police and how it's driven crime through the roof. It talks about George Soros DAs letting criminals go. It talks, for example, about the Waukesha Christmas parade murderer, this racist lunatic who had previously run a woman over with the same red SUV, and a George Soros DA let him go, and days later he plows that SUV into a beautiful Christmas parade, murdering children, murdering elderly people. This pattern, and I go through the Black Lives Matter and Antifa riots across the country and how Democrats, Kamala Harris, raised money to bail out of jail violent criminals, and it walks through the broader issue, which is the lawlessness of the left and the politicization using the Department of Justice, using the FBI, using the IRS to target their political enemies. I think it is incredibly dangerous, and I think it really underscores what the stakes of this election are.
Justice corrupted. Ted Cruz, right there. We appreciate you coming on, sir.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you so much. Good to see you. All right.